Hey, what's up, everybody? The VC here, coming back at you with another video. Anything and everything, because nothing's off the table, and I'm off the cuff. I could just talk about anything and everything. I could go on and on for like literally hours, but I try to do my best to keep things condensed as possible. All right, but yeah, this is one thing I do love to do is content creation. And I have other places I do content creation on. If you want to check it out, the link is in my description. Links are in my description. You can find me here on YouTube. You can find me here also on Rumble, and whichever you prefer to listen, to view, or listen, and or both. I'm in both places. All right. So without further ado, let's just get to it here. Sometimes I could talk random stuff like about the Ocean Gate submarine that sunk, or why I don't like electric cars. Sometimes, or more times than not, it's a lot of this political stuff as well. I like to cover because a lot of this stuff is common sense, and we have no control of our destiny with common sense because we have these dumbass politicians that really are in our way of just living, and we can't do anything because part of it is some of these are elected and some of these are unelected, and it kind of ruins our lives. So the elected ones, if there's enough people that elect the wrong politicians, like living in California, it's a heavily blue state. You vote for the wrong people, which is heavily Democratic, because you have the elites that dominate, and the cities, big cities, because the big cities with population, which is heavily focused on Democrats, outnumber the residents that live away from the big cities, and the big cities tend to be more conservative leaning, which is crazy. But yeah, so this is what happened. Let's talk about it, all right? Big thing is that LA mayor removes fire department chief. So that was the big thing that happened yesterday. I mean, just straight up, all right, straight up, the fire department chief, obvious DEI, right? They were trying to focus on DEI efforts and all that in LA, and so they brought on her, and she's female. She fits the DEI demographic, right? Female. She's I think she's lesbian, all that stuff, right? And so you know, Mayor Karen Bass wanted, and she's at fault, all right, for everything that's happened in LA. Doesn't matter how you want to slice it, how you want to cut it. She's the leader of LA, all right? And being that she's the leader of LA as a mayor, she's not taking responsibility for the Palisades fire that happened, right? So she needs to find a scapegoat, and the scapegoat came in the tune of the fire chief, right? Because the big fires that happened in LA, and rather than just take responsibility, because Democrats never like to take responsibility, they really don't. All right, that's the funny thing about it. They never like to take responsibility for their own problems, their own issues, and their own mistakes that they cause. And Yeah, so that's what Democrats are. They never ever take accountability for anything, right? Just look at Newsom in California, the governor, right? 24 billion spent on the homeless, but don't know what happened, and the homeless problem got worse, right? No accountability, no nothing. Just be like, oh, well, I don't know. Basically, is what he's saying without really saying it. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, they pocketed the money. They kicked back, pocketed the money, right? Things like that. The train to nowhere that Trump is smashing down on, over I think 16 billion spent so far or something like that, and not one track's been laid in 17 years of it from past proposal to now. And even in his term in office, right, the mayor since 2019, Still, not one track's been laid, and you have this train that's being built in the middle of the Central Valley that no one's going to give a fuck about. All right, sorry for my language, but sometimes I fly off the handle. But yeah, so shit like that, and so the same thing goes with any liberal, progressive Democrat, cities, leadership, all that stuff. They never take accountability for nothing. And so Karen Bass is another example, right? She is a problem for LA, and she doesn't want to hold herself accountable, so she blames the fire chief for the fire disaster in LA, right? I mean, par for the course, right? Blame, and that's the thing. They like to shift blame to others. So let's see here. LA mayor removes fire chief, right? So let's take a look at this.
Want zero transfer fees and great rates to Jamaica?
Let me see if there's any other one here. Let's see here. Let me do KTLA. I like KTLA.
Los Angeles City Hall after Mayor Karen Bass ousts Fire Chief Kristen Crawley.
Bass said Crawley mishandled the historic Palisades fire, but the mayor herself is now under fire for her actions surrounding the devastating inferno. KTLA's Chris Wolf live in the news center with reaction to the mayor's actions today. Chris.
That's right, Micah and Cher. It is the latest casualty of the deadly and devastating wildfires this year. Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crawley has been ousted.
I just met with Chief Crowley and removed her as fire chief.
It happened. The Los Angeles fire chief was apparently under fire and is out, effective immediately. There was definite tension.
She did what she did given the circumstances, right? Like, she can't manage the water situation where the reservoir in the Palisades is empty, so the water ran dry in the fire hydrants. So she did what she could with the limited resources that she had, right? So it's just funny how that is, but yet she gets blamed for the situation because this dumbass bitch over here don't want to take ownership of basically, hey, you know what? Yeah, it was my fault, and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have flown to Ghana, even though she promised she would never, do that sort of thing during her campaigning. But they lie all the time. Democrats lie all the time, you know what I'm saying?
Between the two leaders following the explosive Palisades fire on January 7th. On January 10th, while flames were still raging, LA Fire Chief Kristen Crawley took the unusual step of speaking out in a television interview, saying she believed the city, a term which included her boss, Mayor Karen Bass, had failed her and the fire department. Crowley described the department as underfunded and understaffed. She later talked about the lack of enough mechanics.
And it's been said that they cut the budget, the fire department budget, right? The mayor mentioned that, and all of a sudden at this press conference, she said that, we did have budget and we're going to increase our budget. It's like, whoa, wait a second. And now they're flipping it all because of a disaster, and she's trying to save face. Get the fuck out of here, bitch.
Mechanics to repair broken down emergency vehicles. This Friday, Karen Bass came out with blasting commentary about Chief Crowley. Acting in the best interests of Los Angeles' public safety, I have removed Kristen Crawley as fire chief. We know that 1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty on the morning the fires broke out were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch. Furthermore, a necessary step to an investigation was an after-action report on the fires. The chief refused. These require her removal.
The mayor also said that the fire chief could have held over 1,000 firefighters the day of the fires. What she didn't say is there wasn't enough resources. We are outraged at the termination of Fire Chief Crowley.
Yeah.
Period.
I would be.
In our opinion, Chief Crowley is being made a scapegoat.
Yep, exactly.
And she's being terminated for telling the truth.
Yep.
I know the work, the incredible work ethic and dedication that Chief Crowley has had to the department. And
That's the vindictiveness of Democrats, too. You go against their agenda. You go against anything. You talk bad about them in any sort of way, they're going to go after you. Look what happened with Mayor Adams when he was talking about his situation in New York City with the illegals. What did Biden do? Vindictiveness, right? Sent the FBI to raid his home, right? Look at Lindy Lee, the campaign collector for the Democrat Party during Kamala Harris. Well, just for the Democrat Party in general. She's the one that, gathered and collected campaign donations going around to try to just do that. And when she's asked questions because her constituents were asking questions, oh man, the pushback, oh man, you're a hater, oh man, they booted her out of the Democrat Party. This is who I'm talking about, Lindy Lee, right? Her. Just for asking questions, right? Because they lost over $1.5 billion during the election season and still lost. I mean, think about that. Right? They spent and lost. But yet, she was just asking questions, and all of a sudden she gets shunned, right, by the Democrats. It's like, wow, that's crazy. So, shit like that. And this is the same thing. You go against the mayor because she's a woke, progressive Democrat, they're going to shun you too, right? And that's what she did with the fire chief, plus making her a scapegoat because she don't want to take the blame. That's what Democrats do.
Feel that, she has been someone who has served the people of Los Angeles really well and honorably for many, many years, dedicated her life to public safety in Los Angeles.
I will fight that
She deserves greater respect than what was afforded to her today.
Let me just be clear. Los Angeles needs to move forward.
Fuck out
This
here.
is a new day.
Way to move forward is for you to just get out of the way, bitch, and just step down, because you've already done enough to really ignore LA. And LA is in a mess, all right? Whether you want to admit it or not, whether people want to admit it or not, LA sucks because of Karen Bass.
I am excited to welcome our new chief, who was a 41-year veteran of this fire department. He is well known. He is well liked.
And to all the firefighters, I want you to know the love that I have for this department is the reason I'm coming back.
Interim Fire Chief Ronnie Villanueva comes out of a 7-month retirement to take this job. Mayor Bass is planning to conduct a national search for a permanent replacement. Live in the News Center, Chris Wolf, KTLA 5 News.
Are you ready for retirement?
That's trash. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, it was very clear that they're looking for a scapegoat. All right. Let's see what Fox, who has a lot of common sense, has to say about that.
So the LA Fire Department pushing back on Mayor Karen Bass as she blames everyone but herself for a trip to Africa while her city burned to the ground. Chanley Painter joins us with more. Good morning, Chanley.
Hey, good morning, Lawrence. So Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass still trying to mitigate the fallout of her much criticized handling of the historic wildfires in LA. Well, she has now apparently started an investigation into why she claims no one told her not to go on that now infamous trip to Ghana ahead of the deadly fires. Watch.
You shouldn't even, it shouldn't even cross your mind about going to Ghana. I mean, that's not what you do. I mean, why even consider going to Ghana in the first place? And she lied that she said, oh, the White House asked for me to represent on their behalf. That's what the vice president is for. That's what other cabinet positions are for if they want some sort of representation. For the White House to go out of their way to go ask Bass to do it, it's not believable, all right? It's not believable.
It was going to be a very, very short trip, over a weekend and 2 business days. Although there were warnings that I frankly wasn't aware of, although there were warnings, I think our preparation, it wasn't what it typically is.
What do you mean there were warnings you weren't aware of? Because I know we were talking about it on the news.
It didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip.
Why didn't it happen?
You know what? How about she's just a dimwit, right? It just didn't register in her dumb ass head. You know, she's as dumb as Kamala. I mean, who's dumber, right? Between Kamala and her, because they're both just as stupid.
To me, I don't know. I mean, I think that that's one of the things.
I mean, one thing she doesn't do is the word salad stuff, as Kamala does, so maybe that makes her look more stupid, but she's just pure stupid because she's trying to act like she's naive and doesn't know any better. So yeah, between her and Kamala, they're both DEI hires.
We need to look at.
They do not qualify to work at their positions.
Well, now the Los Angeles Fire Department is responding sternly to the mayor's claims she was not warned, saying the department followed all standard preparation procedures. Quote, prior to the Palisades fire, the LAFD emailed 2 separate media advisories, conducted multiple live and recorded media interviews about the predicted extreme fire weather, and notified city officials about the upcoming weather event. The historic fires burned down
Where's the vice mayor? I bet you the vice mayor
becoming the
knew.
9th deadliest and 3rd most destructive wildfire on record in California. Yet despite this blame game, the mayor, who was in Ghana as part of the Biden administration delegation, she says, ultimately admitted taking the trip was a mistake and says she's trying to work to regain the confidence of her constituents.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this.
Trash.
Thanks, Shanley. Let's bring in the 5 co-hosts, Judge Janine Pirro. I mean, it was on the news. So I think from her statement alone, that's reason to resign, right?
Yeah, I would think so. It's reason for the people of Los Angeles to demand she resign. Look, it's her job to know. Right. A mayor is not a figurehead. A mayor is the CEO of a city. And in a city where these fires are an annual event, it is her job to be aware of it. And if she says the information didn't reach her, then she is responsible for a failure in the chain of command.
Yeah, but she blames Joe Biden. That's why she was on the trip to Africa as the president.
What she did was she prioritized her political interests in going to Ghana over her responsibility to the people of Los Angeles. And, you know, this is
not a one trip to Ghana thing. She's taken several trips to Ghana during her time as a mayor in LA right now. All right, so this is not the first time. You know, maybe you might be able to have a little bit of wiggle room. But no, I think she lied about, White House asking her to go. And she's taken several trips to Ghana already. She's full of shit, and she just don't want to admit that it was her fault.
The typical Democrat response. You cut the budget, you ignore warnings, and then you say, you know what, let's do a study on this. But in the end, what you have here is a woman who, I looked at her history. She has done nothing proactively to prevent any of these problems. And she was warned in December by the fire chief, who said, look, you cannot do these budget cuts. This is something that is going to happen. And she says, I'll pass the buck. And she felt comfortable enough to go to Ghana, and she thinks that she can get away with it.
Unacceptable. I don't think it's going to happen, though. In other news, Daniel Penny is going to be honored with an award from the Marine Corps League for action on.
Well, I'm just going to move on to another follow-up here. Let's take a look at this right here. Kristen Crowley, the fired fire chief, is going to sell your car, stay at a lower rank following her termination. So let's see what they're going to say about this.
Our Carvana will give you a real...
The moment.
Bass says she terminated LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley in the interest of the city's public safety.
But there are many questions about the decision, including why now, 46 days after the Palisades fire started. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes live in downtown with the breaking story. Rob.
Yeah, the mayor says she met with the fire chief late this morning and an hour later announced that she had fired Chief Crowley.
Scapegoating.
The aftermath of the deadly fires devolving into an ugly city hall blame game. From fire chief to just plain fired, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass today terminating Chief Kristen Crowley, blaming her for improperly staffing the Palisades and Eaton fires.
We all know that 1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty
We all know
on the
that
morning the fire.
You could have better prepared for this by making sure that everything was set up and ready to go. So let's just say you wanted to make your trip. Well, you could at least double check to make sure the water was aplenty, that you had your staffing at capacity, and that they're ready to go for this sort of event, even though you shouldn't be going to fly it to other places. And then that way, you're holding yourself accountable and making sure that the city is safe, because that's the whole idea. You're supposed to make sure the city is safe, right? Fuck out of here, bitch.
Were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch. These actions required her removal.
In the wake of those deadly fires, Bass and Crowley initially appeared supportive of each other, side by side at news conferences. But it didn't take long for a rift to form.
We took a $17 million budget cut.
The fire chief blasting this city for underfunding and understaffing the department, leaving it vulnerable.
The fire department needs help. We do not have enough firefighters. With that, I have also requested multiple budgets, interim budgets, to show how understaffed, under-resourced, and underfunded the LAFD is.
In turn, Bass slammed Chief Crowley for refusing to put together a required after-action report as part of the mayor's investigation into the fire response. And earlier this week, Mayor Bass, who was overseas in Ghana when the fires broke out, blamed the fire department for failing to warn her of the potentially deadly weather conditions that were headed to LA.
Every time there was a weather emergency or even a hint of a weather emergency, the chief has called me directly. That did not happen this time.
The fire department says it followed its standard preparation procedures and issued public and media advisories.
If I was
These
the fire
warning
chief.
posts on X dating back a week before the fires.
Did you see any of the forecasts before you went to Ghana?
No.
We reached out to Crowley for comment on her dismissal, but haven't heard back. The fire department refused to comment. In the meantime, retired LAFD firefighter Ronnie Villanueva will take the helm as interim fire chief.
The Los Angeles City Fire Department will be prepared. The Los Angeles City Fire Department will respond. And the Los Angeles City Fire Department will keep you safe.
Now, we're also learning that Crowley has chosen to stay on with the fire department at a lower rank. LA's civil service rules give her that option. What that position might be, however, will be determined by the new interim fire chief. Reporting live in downtown LA, Rob Hayes, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
You know their union.
Rob, thank you. Well, City Council member Monica Rodriguez coming out against Bass's decision, saying, quote, Chief Crowley remains the most qualified member of the Los Angeles City Fire Department that earned her well-deserved appointment as fire chief. I am outraged by the scapegoating revealed by the mayor's actions. I plan to use my authority as a council member to set the record straight and encourage Chief Crowley to appeal the mayor's baseless termination to the city council. The public deserves a full account of every single leadership failure that has taken place. Rodriguez, who would need 10 votes from the 15-member council to overturn Bass's decision. And stay with Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of the fire.
Former LA fire chief makes first public comment since the firing. So let's take a look at this.
Want zero transfer fees and great rates to Jamaica? Send your first online money transfer with...
And also now to this. Former LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley issues her first public statement since being fired by Mayor Karen Bass. Critics say Crowley is being wrongfully blamed, but Mayor Bass also has a lot of support. LA's first female fire chief could still appeal the firing and potentially be voted back in by the city council.
I would love to see that.
He joins us live in our news center. He's got what former Chief Crowley had to say today. Chris?
Yeah, big development in this story. Rick and Kareen. Former Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley released a statement today praising her department as one of the greatest in the world. She also detailed what has guided her throughout her career. We're now hearing from Kristen Crowley one day after she was removed from office as the leader of the Los Angeles Fire Department. It's her first public comment since Friday's bombshell fallout from the explosive Palisades fire that wiped out a community, destroying lives and property January 7th. slamming Fire Chief Kristen Crowley for the way she prepared for and handled the catastrophe and a subsequent review of the fire department's actions. LA Mayor Karen Bass announced that Crowley was out and an LAFD veteran was in as interim chief.
I just met with Chief Crowley and removed her as fire chief.
Now, the response. Avoiding any mention of Karen Bass, Kristen Crowley released a statement Saturday. As a humble public servant for over the past 30 years, 25 of those with the LAFD, it has been an absolute honor to represent and lead the men and women of one of the greatest fire departments in the world. As the fire chief, I based my actions and decisions on taking care of our firefighters so that they could take care of our communities. Serving others before self, having the courage and integrity to do what is right, and leading with compassion, love, and respect have guided me throughout my career. A rep says Crowley will be making no further statements on the matter.
We had a fire chief who spoke up and told the truth about what the men and women in the LAFD need on the grounds. We need more money. We need more resources. We need more staffing.
I have called for a full investigation of everything leading up to January 7th. A necessary step to the investigation was the president of the Fire Commission telling Chief Crowley to do an after-action report on the fires. The fire chief refused.
But this is the largest fire in the city of Los Angeles, most damaging with housing. To say that there's not going to be a report, anybody in the fire service, it's ludicrous. It's happening.
The Firefighters Union president says Mayor Bass does not have all the facts and is painting a misleading picture of Chief Crowley. 41-year department veteran Ronnie Villanueva is the new interim fire chief. The mayor says she will conduct a national search for a permanent replacement. We will hear from LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath in the next hour.
Whatever.
For now, reporting live in the news center.
Garbage, man. Trash. It's crazy, man. Yeah, this is just crap. That's all I got to say about that. Anyhow, let's see here. So we covered a lot today in terms of what led up to the firing, and the firing itself in general, and then the aftermath of the firing. But we all know, I mean, see, everybody can see it's just scapegoating, playing the blame game on someone else. So, yeah, it's just garbage. And that's how Democrats are. They just never take accountability for nothing. That's the problem that we have. But anyhow, that's the latest on everything in terms of what we got going on here. This is something that was noteworthy I wanted to really cover because we all know that Karen Bass is just an idiot and taking those stupid ass trips for what? We don't know. I mean, supposedly, to maintain good relations overseas and stuff, whatever, bitch. Alright, for someone that promised to not take trips, I don't know, that's just what they are. They just never take accountability for anything. Alright, so that's enough from me today. Comment down below, subscribe, hit the bell icon whether you're on Rumble, YouTube, or both. And comment down below. Thank you. I'll see you next one.